The government has passed the controversial RTI Amendment bill in the Lok Sabha today amidst opposition allegations that the transparency law is being diluted. The bill amends Section 13 and 16 of the RTI Act 2005 and gives the centre power to set the tenure, salaries and terms of service of Chief Information Commissioners as well as Information Commissioners. The concern is that the amendments will take away the independence of the RTI, and the demand is that the bill be sent to a select committee for further scrutiny first. The government on its part says they're merely correcting some anomalies from the earlier act which was passed in haste. Is the most crucial accountability tool then being put under threat? We're talking about all this and more this evening on the India Development Debate. I'm joined now by Shailesh, Gandhi, RTI activist and former Central Information Commissioner, as well as Aishwarya Bhati, senior advocate in the Supreme Court. Welcome to both of you. As I understand it correctly, the government wants to amend the law so that the salary and the tenure of the Chief Information Commissioners and Information Commissioners are now determined more by the government, and activists like yourself see this as a threat to the entire process. Is that concern really truly justified?
You see, remember one other thing. The respect to an order of a tribunal partly depends on the hierarchy of who's higher and lower, and this is standard in every place. I guess in the private sector also, if somebody is 3 grades higher, that person demands and gets much more respect for his orders. This will also go down, because if it appears that they might want to place them to the level of a joint secretary, that kind of position, or lower than the High Court judges, that kind of position will not get the respect that it deserves, and therefore a citizen's fundamental right under Article 19(1)(a), the right to information, would get affected, which is unfortunate and very sad. And no pre-legislative consultation has also been done, despite the fact that this is a stated position. And the Prime Minister has said they'll listen. What's the hurry? Today, day before yesterday, they said they are going to put this bill. Yesterday they put it, today they have passed it just because they have a majority. That's not the way a democracy functions. A democracy functions by listening to people, arguing with people, explaining to people what is the reason. No stated reason has been given at all.
You know, Aishwarya Bhati, the history of RTI in our country has been a very interesting one. It has been, in a sense, one of the most powerful tools that has been used by activists as well as opposition parties. Between 2009 and 2014, when the UPA-2 was in power, for example, a number of RTI applications revealed scams, misdemeanors, exposés of the government of the day, which contributed finally to them losing power. Today, in scenes which were almost ironical from the Lok Sabha, you had opposition parties saying that please protect the RTI, and you had members of parliament from the BJP who once used the RTI politically saying no, we need to change it. Don't you think this needs more deliberation? Because the RTI truly has been a transformational law and a right for citizens.
Well, Tamanna, everyone has to agree with you that RTI has been a completely transformational law. It has not only allowed access to citizens to information, but it has also, promoted an era of transparency. So now we are seeing that more and more organizations are actually putting their information out there in the public domain, suo moto, so that they don't have to, because whatever is available on public domain, you need not give in the RTI. And of course, it has been a great tool. There is no denying that. But having said that, I am not so skeptical that the amendments that are being proposed and are going through the houses, I don't think they are actually diluting the RTI in the manner in which it is made out. Basically, what is being added is that the terms of the tenure of the commissioners, information commissioners, and their salaries will be determined by rules. And the rules is something that is the provision of rules is there in all acts. It is not like rules are something that is falling out of nowhere. Rules are there in all primary acts, and rules are essentially there to iron out the procedures, tenure, etc. A lot of places the tenure and salary is prescribed in the original acts. For example, for tenure for judges in Supreme Court and High Court, it is the Constitution itself takes care of it. But we have to bear in mind that if the government makes rules pursuant to this amendment, if the government makes rules which are actually discriminatory or arbitrary in any manner, then those rules can be challenged. If the tenure is actually fixed at a 6 months or 1 year, like my colleague on the show was mentioning, that can very well be challenged. If the salary is kept at something, the levels which are not commensurate with the levels, then it will be. I don't share the same feeling that it is in a way diluting, because no dilution is happening to the act. The act remains. The right of the citizen to get that information is not being diluted in any manner.
Yes, Mr. Gandhi, you want to rebut to that?
Let me put a simple proposition to man. Supposing the status of the Supreme Court and their salaries was reduced to that of high courts or subordinate courts, would it not affect the whole operation of the Constitution and the law? It would. Similarly, the RTI Act is meant to be adjudicated. The final appeal lies with the Commission, and that is where quite often the Commission issues orders which are not to the liking of those in power. In fact, most places worldwide, those in power do not like RTI. The opposition, when it was in power, did not like RTI very much. The earlier government also thrice wanted to amend the law but did not. It listened to the people, which is what democracy is all about. Listening to people. And the Prime Minister has publicly made a commitment to citizens saying that he will listen to people, he will listen to dissent. They are not listening to dissent. Why this unholy hurry? What is going to change? The RTI Act has worked pretty well. It is one of the best acts. And you downgrade the information commissions, obviously you downgrade the whole system. And if you make the information commissioners caged parrots reflecting his master's voice, then I think it's a very sad day for democracy. This is an extraordinarily important one, and there is no need to tinker with it. Just because some salaries, and mind you, earlier the Parliamentary Standing Committee had also looked at it. It was not done in a hurry like the Minister says now. I think he should look at the proceedings of the earlier act and how it went through.
I want you to answer the question about why. 1 minute, Mr. Gandhi. A point which you raised earlier as well. You're saying that fixing tenure that the government determines or fixing salary that the government determines need not necessarily mess with the independence of these information commissioners, who are the gateway between what the Aam Janta wants to know and the information that the government has. Then why do it? What is the purpose of doing it?
I can't answer that question, Tamanna, for you. What is the purpose of doing it? I was barely explaining to you the manner in which other acts function and how rules are there. Now, please understand that it's not like tenure will be fixed for individual members in individual ways. There will be rules which will be standard, which will which will operate for all information commissioners, and it could be different for state and center. But I mean, if the statutory powers are available, then how does the salary determine whether the orders will be correct or not? I don't, at least for me, I don't buy that logic that on the basis of the salary that they draw, their powers will be determined. Their powers are very well defined and codified in the RTI Act itself. And it's not like the salary will determine what kind of orders they pass. The powers are there, their duties are there, responsibilities are there. RTI is emanating from a constitutional guarantee of free right to know. So right to know is an important right which is fundamentally recognized in our constitution, and I don't see any dilution to right to know.
Okay, let's just hope that there is no dilution for right to know. There are several states and several gaps between chief information commissioners even being appointed in state as in center. RTI should be continued no matter who the government of the day is. Just to give you an example, scams like the Adarsh scam, the 2G scam, the CWG scam came to light because of the Right to Information Act. That right should continue no matter who is at the receiving end. Thank you so much. Aishwarya Bhati and Shailesh Gandhi, for joining us today. We were giving you both sides of the RTI debate, which will perhaps now see some resistance in the Rajya Sabha, though it's been passed through the Lok Sabha. And as we say goodbye, we leave you with these visuals from Chandrayaan-2, which finally successfully took off this afternoon from Sri Harikota. ISRO again has made India proud. Thank you for joining us.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
समय आप अपने स्क्रीन पे देख रहे हैं लो S200 रॉकेट
Press 5 seconds.
दोनों का प्रज्वलन हो गया है और इससे 140 से
It's the beginning of a historical journey of India towards moon